A Godzilla El Nino came and went, but still our monsoon was not that affected. Does that mean our monsoon is becoming more resilient, or does that signal even bigger climate surprises are ahead? Meanwhile, there were some Indian companies fighting for a single bauxite block in Odisha. So, we are going to discuss both these topics in detail. So, my name is Arjun, Geography faculty, Amrita IAS Academy. Let's start. So, let's discuss our first topic, that is the Godzilla El Nino. So, Godzilla is generally a word used to symbolize any monster events. So, here it is a very strong El Nino event. And during any normal El Nino events, there will be very weak Indian monsoon. So, El Nino adversely affects Indian monsoon, our monsoon. But in current scenario, we are actually getting fairly well monsoon during this season. So, it is a paradoxical condition, and we will see how this happens. Before that, I will explain what is El Nino and what is ENSO. So, El Nino is actually a warm phase of ENSO, that is El Nino Southern Oscillation. So, ENSO is actually a climate phenomenon that involves sea surface temperatures and also atmospheric circulations. And this has actually three phases. ENSO has three phases. One is obviously the neutral phase, and other one is La Nina phase, which is actually the negative phase, or which is actually the not negative phase but the cooler phase. And we have the El Nino, the third phase, which is the warmer phase. So, these are the normal phases of El Nino Southern Oscillation. So, simply it is an atmospheric oceanic phenomenon which involves atmosphere as well as ocean. So, the important component of this phenomenon is actually Walker circulations. Walker circulation is actually a east-west air circulation in the tropical oceans. So, it is more evident generally in the Pacific Ocean, that is why it is more discussed. Okay. So, Walker circulations are actually atmospheric circulations which are actually moving in east-west directions. Okay. So, they are moving in east-west direction in the tropical oceans. Okay, നമ്മുടെ tropical oceans, അതായത് നമ്മുടെ equator, near the equator, it is actually moving in east-west directions. And how Walker circulation is formed, I will explain. So, generally we have the equatorial low pressure region, and then we have the subtropical high pressure belts, which I will draw in the blue color now. Okay. So, I will draw using the blue color. So, this is the subtropical high pressure belts in the 30° north and south respectively. So, high, and from these high pressure belts we have the trade winds moving in these directions in the northern hemisphere and respectively in the southern hemisphere. So, this is the direction of trade winds, and when the trade winds blow in this direction, it actually causes accumulation of warm surface water in the western Pacific region. So, as the trade winds move like this, they actually drag surface water, that is warmer, to the western margin of Pacific Ocean. So, western margin of Pacific Ocean. So, this region is having a warm water pool. Okay. And then whenever we have a warm water pool, what will happen? It will actually warm the just above atmosphere also. So, it is warming the atmosphere. So, warmer air columns will start rising. So, in the equatorial region of western Pacific, during any normal year, there will be a rise of warmer air columns. So this warmer air column after rising will split into two and they will move towards west and east respectively. And the east flowing arm of the circulation sinks at the equatorial Pacific, which is actually the eastern Pacific region near the Peru-Chile coast. So it sinks in the Peru-Chile region. So this is called the vacuum circulation of any normal year. So normal years vacuum circulation ee oru reethiyilana act cheyyunnathu. And during the negative phase, that is the La Nina phase, what will happen? This entire system is more strengthened, and during El Nino phase, this circulation is distorted. So during neutral conditions, we have proper circulations, that is actually rising air column near the Australian coast and sinking air column near the Peru coast. During La Nina phase, the neutral phase is actually strengthened circulation, and during El Nino phase, it is actually distorted. So these are the changes or phases of ENSO. So neutral, La Nina and El Nino phases. So the picture given here is the neutral phase. So here you can see a low pressure is actually created near the Australian coast or north of Australian coast, and a high pressure is created near the Peru coast. High pressure is created. This is high. So whenever we have a low pressure, what will happen? Near the low pressure, there will be cloud formation. As the rising air column condenses and cools, there will be cloud formation and rainfall. And sinking air column causes atmospheric stability and hence no rainfall. So during normal years, there will be sufficient rainfall near the Australian coast and there will be lesser rainfall or no rainfall near the Peru coast. And you can understand or you can guess here, during the strengthened phase or La Nina phase, there will be even more rainfall in the Australian region and even lesser or suppressed rainfall in the Peru-Chile region. And when this is distorted, then we have the El Nino condition. I will explain it separately. So in this picture also I have given the neutral conditions. So here we have the low pressure created. We have the low pressure created because of the accumulation of warm water, and this warm water helps in warming the air column and subsequent rising of the air column. So this region experiences rainfall during neutral conditions, and then the sinking arm creates high pressure and no rains. And the west moving arm of the vacuum circulation, which is actually moving on to Indian Ocean, is actually sinking near the Mascarene High. Okay. So this one is actually, the Mascarene High is a very important deciding factor of Indian monsoon. So it is actually sinking to the Mascarene High region. So during a normal year, the sinking actually strengthens the Mascarene High. So neutral strengthens Mascarene High and influences Indian rainfall in a positive manner. Positive Indian rainfall. And when we have La Nina phase, it is even more strengthened. So Mascarene High is even more stronger during La Nina. So what will happen? It will lead to more rainfall during La Nina phase. More strong Mascarene, and hence obviously more stronger Indian monsoon. So neutral phases and La Nina phases are actually, or rather neutral phase is good for Indian monsoon and La Nina will actually bring excessive rainfall in India. So, excessive rainfall can actually cause floods also. So, La Nina is associated with floods in India, okay, floods in India. So, this is one connection. And what happens during El Nino year? I will explain. So, during El Nino years, the trade winds which were actually bringing warm water to the western Pacific, so this one is actually distorted trade winds. So, when trade winds are distorted, what will happen? The water will flow back. So, water actually flows back into the central and eastern Pacific region. So, warm water is actually accumulated in the central and eastern Pacific. So, the normal water circulation is distorted here, and it will cause during El Nino year rising air columns or low pressure created at the central or eastern Pacific. So, El Nino years causes low pressures in the central and eastern Pacific. So, this will adversely affect our monsoonal rainfalls. So, instead of strengthening the mascarene high, El Nino will weaken mascarene high, weakens mascarene high. So, El Nino weakens mascarene high and creates a low here, okay, a low pressure scenario. So, this is how generally the El Nino weakens Indian monsoon. So, currently we have the Godzilla El Nino condition, which was actually exceptionally strong, and also previously also we had such events in 1997-98 or 2015-16 and currently also. So, these events, even though abnormally they are strong, they are not actually affecting our monsoon. Why? Because monsoon is actually impacted by so many factors, okay, and ENSO is just one factor. So, I will say, okay, ENSO has impact on monsoon, but it is not the sole factor that decides how stronger or weaker Indian monsoon is. So, this year we have actually so many factors which are in our favors. So, I have listed all the factors generally which are affecting monsoon. So, we have land and sea heating, the presence of ITCZ and the heating of Tibetan plateau, and the presence of jet streams that are the subtropical westerly jet stream. Its presence or absence decides whether the monsoonal trough is coming to India or not, and also the tropical easterly jet stream, which is actually starting from the Tibetan region and then ending to the mascarene high, strengthening the mascarene high. So, all these events are actually very influential in Indian monsoon, and apart from this we have other climatic influences like ENSO, Indian Ocean Dipole, Madan-Julian oscillation, and boreal summer intra-seasonal oscillation, the sea surface temperatures of Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. So, all these factors are actually influencing Indian monsoon. So, if some of the factors are weaker, some others will offset the amount of Indian monsoon. So, that is the scenario currently happening. So, currently we have a active Indian monsoon trough, which is actually the low pressure along the Indian region or part of ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone, ITCZ. So, it is in favor of India, which is actually present over the northern plains, and also we have multiple cyclonic circulations which are actually the low pressure systems which attracts monsoon or the monsoonal winds, and also we have strong moisture inflow from both Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. So, I will explain in detail how they are actually influencing our monsoon. So, first we will see the presence of monsoon trough. So, we have the monsoon trough currently during July over the northern plains. So, presence of monsoon trough creates a low pressure over this region. So, this low pressure actually attracts the southwest monsoon winds towards the Indian plains region or the northern plains region and creating rainfall in the entire region. So, this is one reason which acted in favor of us and provided rainfall throughout the region. So, apart from the presence of the monsoonal trough, we have one more factor that is in favor, the Indian Ocean dipole. So, currently we have the positive phase of IOD, and IOD is actually known as Indian Nina also. Similar like El Nino, La Nina, it is known as Indian Nina, and it is actually the difference in sea surface temperature of two regions, that is the Western Indian Ocean and Eastern Indian Ocean. So, we are measuring the difference in temperature same like our El Nino in the Indian Ocean region. So, that is why it is known as Indian Ocean dipole. We have two poles. Okay. So, IOD also have three phases. One is the neutral, which actually gives cooler Western Indian Ocean and warm Eastern Indian Ocean. Okay. And then we have the negative phase, which is actually the enhanced neutral. So, that means we have cold western part and warmer east, and then we have positive, which is actually providing a warmer west and then cooler east. So, this is actually the positive phase. So, during positive phase, when the warmer Indian Ocean provides more moisture and it ensures more moisture is transported to Indian region during the arrival of monsoon. So, warmer phase actually provides more rainfall to the Indian region. So, currently this is in favor of us providing very good monsoons. So, I hope this part is also clear, and apart from that we also have presence of low pressures, local weather systems which are present over Indian subcontinent helping the monsoon. So, we have the cyclonic circulations which are actually present in the Madhya Pradesh region, in the Bay of Bengal region. So, they are also actually, whenever we have a low pressure in this region, it will attract winds from the warmer oceanic regions. So, this region being the land, it heats faster, and then presence of cyclonic system again enhances the low in this region. So, more winds are actually attracted, which are actually moisture laden and provides good monsoon, good rainfall in our region. So, these are the important factors that are currently in favor of us. And the question still remains, is the monsoon deficit over? So, the answer is no. The monsoon deficit is not yet over, because the current cloud cover does not mean there is seasonal rainfall recovery. So, this current cloud cover is temporary. Okay. So, this week's or this month's rainfall does not guarantee that the entire season will have sufficient rainfall. So, rainfall deficit might accumulate over the coming months, and the El Nino will definitely have a seasonal deficit. So, this is the conclusion. So, I hope this part was clear. I will briefly explain the topics once again. So, El Nino or ENSO was a circulation, atmospheric oceanic circulation, which was actually present in the Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean, tropical oceans basically, and during the neutral phase we have strong trade winds which are actually dragging water towards the western coast of Pacific, that is north of Australia, and creating a Walker circulation covering the entire Pacific Ocean and tropical Indian Ocean. During La Nina phases, this is strengthened, this is more stronger, the circulation is more stronger, or rather the strongest, creating more rainfall in the Indian region as well as Australian region. And during El Nino phase, the normal water circulation is distorted, causing very low rainfall in the Australian region and more rainfall in the Peru Chile. Okay, so more rainfall in the Peru Chile region. So these are the phases of El Nino you need to remember. So it's a very important topic for your prelims as well as mains examination. So I hope this is clear. So more on other topics, if you want any video on any of the impacts, or if you want a video, longer video on the monsoon, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be providing a complete coverage if you want. So we'll move on to the second topic, that is the Karlapat bauxite block, which is actually in news. So recently major industrial groups like Adani, Reliance, etc. are actually competing for the Karlapat Polypadar bauxite block, which is actually in the state of Odisha, which is present in the Kalahandi district of Odisha. And this is the largest unallocated bauxite deposits currently in the country. So hope you all know we are currently the second largest globally after China, and if we open the exploration of this Karlapat bauxite block also, we can actually improve our output. So that is the importance of this bauxite block. And what is the importance of bauxite? It is actually the primary ore of aluminium, which is actually very important for your defense, transport, etc. The flights are made of aluminum alloys actually, and then it is very important in constructing the low weight electric vehicles and also fuel the EV revolution, infrastructure revolution in our country. So it is very important for our economy also, and we will discuss about the bauxite block in detail. So this is actually a major greenfield or virgin bauxite block. Greenfield means we are starting afresh. So it is a newer field, okay. And then the cost efficiency of this region is actually very important, because when we refine alumina, here the alumina content of the bauxite is very higher, that is approximately 45%. So generally this means all other impurities are leached. Almost all impurities of bauxite are leached away, and the concentration of the alumina is to a higher grade, that is approximately 45.2%, and here the silica content is actually very lower. That means we can very easily extract aluminium from the ore which is actually present in the Karlapat region. So it is actually very economic in refining the bauxite ore from this region. So that again makes the block even more attractive. Now we see the location of the block. So it is located in the Eastern Ghat region. So it is in the Kalahandi district of Odisha, and we have the Karlapat Wildlife Sanctuary and Elephant Corridor, which is actually very near to this location. So this is one major problem in the allocation. So hope you are aware that when we have this kind of wildlife sanctuary and elephant corridors near the mining or exploration region, there will be stricter environment norms, and also there will be stricter implementation of PESA, etc. So it will make the exploration little bit difficult in terms of legal procedures. So the importance generally is actually it is critical for our domestic aluminium supply, as the infrastructural needs are rising. So we need to produce more good quality aluminium in our country itself. So we can reduce the import dependence also by exploring these fields. And then industrial expansion will be possible in this region and overall regional development will be enabled, and it will strengthen Odisha's position, which is actually the topmost aluminum hub in our country. The state is actually the topmost producer and it will enhance the production capacity. That means Odisha will become even stronger producer of aluminum, and the problems include the ecological sensitivity of the region. So, we have this wildlife sanctuary, I have already told you. So, this will make the environmental clearances more stricter, and also we have legal hurdles as this region is having the presence of tribal population. So, the Forest Right Acts and also the PESA Act will make the local consent a tricky affair. So, once the significant papers are done, they can actually start the exploration. And when we see the top producers of bauxite globally and also in India, we can see the Odisha is the top state, followed by Gujarat, Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra according to the government data. And also Jharkhand is also mentioned according to some Government of India linked websites. So, there will be so many other websites also which is giving some different data. So, always try to refer the government provided data. And according to Ministry of Mines summary, China is the overall top producer, followed by Argentina, Brazil and India, followed by Russia. Okay. So, this is generally the ranking. So, sometimes it is also mentioned that we are at the second position, and in some sources, government sources, it again says we are at the fourth position. So, it is actually ranking is actually contested. So, that is all on this topic. Now, we have few more topics which are actually map related. So, I will be discussing the map related topics in a single video later on at the end of this month, or I will be releasing the video soon. So, you can refer the provided notes in the Telegram channel, and also you can give us the comments how we can improve. So, that is all from my side. Thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.